Hello, Masha fans! In 10 minutes' time, you'll know who deserves their own Masha spin-off and exactly why. When you think of scary wolves in stories, you imagine terrifying predators. You know, the kind that huff, puff, and blow your house down. But in Masha and the Bear, the wolves are, well, ambulance drivers who can't even pay rent.
It's funny.
Today, we're asking the important question: why do the wolves deserve their own spin-off show? And more importantly, how did apex predators end up as the forest's most overworked, underpaid handymen? Let's talk about how far these wolves have fallen. Wolves used to be legends in fairy tales, the villains, the nightmares. Little Red Riding Hood? Terrifying. The Three Little Pigs? Pure menace. For centuries, wolves were the bad guys. But in Masha and the Bear, they live in an abandoned ambulance in the middle of the forest. Not a den, not a cave, an ambulance with peeling paints and probably expired first aid supplies. Forget scary, they're basically Uber drivers who can't say no to a toddler. They went from fee, fi, fo, fum to yes ma'am, right away ma'am. It's like watching a mob boss become a mall security guard.
Okay.
The wolves don't hunt. Oh no, they do odd jobs for Masha. They've been chefs, babysitters, taxi drivers, construction workers, even dentists. As if the constant job switching wasn't enough, they never even get paid properly. Masha promises them jam or candy or 5 minutes of peace, and they believe her every single time. Being bossed about by a child that they could eat in 2 bites is one thing, but it's even weirder when they have the courage to do jobs that people train years for. Seriously, one of them once pulled out Bear's tooth with pliers, no anesthesia, no dental license, just vibes and courage. This isn't the forest. This is Craigslist, the animated series. They're like that friend who keeps lending money they'll never see again. Except instead of money, it's their dignity. The worst part? They're actually good at some of these jobs. Like, surprisingly competent. They've got skills. They've got hustle. They've got a work ethic that would make LinkedIn influencers weep with envy. But do they get recognition? Do they get a raise? Do they even get a positive Yelp review? Nope. They get more chaos. They get Masha showing up at 3 a.m. with another brilliant idea that involves them risking their lives for absolutely zero benefit. There's an episode where they literally become her servants. They're cooking, cleaning, doing her laundry, and she's just sitting there like a tiny forest mafia boss saying, "Yeah, this is fine. More porridge." If this were a human workplace, there'd be a union strike. But nope, the wolves just keep showing up for work like it's a normal Tuesday. Here's the thing. While Masha runs around causing chaos and Bear sighs for the millionth time, the wolves are quietly stealing the show. Their whole vibe is, we didn't sign up for this. And that's comedy gold. Every time they come up with a plan, it backfires. Every time they try to be scary, someone laughs at them. Every time they think they've finally caught a break, Masha appears. And the best part? They react like real people. When something goes wrong, they don't just shrug it off. They panic. They argue with each other. One wolf blames the other wolf, and suddenly they're having a full marital dispute in the middle of the forest. It's relatable, because who hasn't tried their best at something and ended up worse off than when you started? Who hasn't had a job they're wildly unqualified for, but showed up anyway? These wolves are living the struggle, and honestly, that's why we love them. Talking of struggle, you might struggle to catch up with our next video if you don't subscribe. So snap up the opportunity and hit subscribe faster than Red Riding Hood can say, "What big teeth you have, Grandma?" Let's talk about the wolf duo for a second, because their friendship is actually kind of beautiful. They bicker constantly, they blame each other when things go wrong, but they never leave each other behind. They're ride or die. Literally, they share an ambulance. One wolf is usually the brain of the operation, trying to come up with plans. The other one is, well, he's there for moral support and snacks. And they communicate almost entirely through looks and gestures, which makes their comedy even better because you can see them having full conversations without saying a word. Should we help Masha? Absolutely not. We're gonna help Masha, aren't we? Yeah. It's like watching a married couple who've been together for 40 years. They don't need words, just disappointment and acceptance. Okay, down to business. These guys deserve their own spin-off show. And I'm not just saying that. I've got the whole pitch ready. Picture this. The Wolves, a sitcom about two predators trying to make it in the gig economy. Episode 1, Wolf Uber. They drive forest animals around but keep getting paid in carrots. One passenger is a rabbit who won't stop talking about crypto. Episode 2, Wolf Master Chef. They try to cook a fancy dinner for Masha, but she eats all the ingredients before they can start. They end up serving air sandwiches. Episode 3, Wolf ER. Because, let's be real, after Masha's stunts, someone's always going to need medical attention. The wolves open a forest hospital, but realize none of them know how to doctor. Chaos ensues. Episode 4, the wolves get a roommate. A stray hedgehog moves into the ambulance. He's neat, organized, and passive-aggressive about dishes. The wolves spiral. Episode 5, Wolf Job Interview. They try to get a legitimate job in the city. It does not go well. Security is called. This show basically writes itself. It's The Office meets nature documentary meets existential crisis. I'd watch 10 seasons. Imagine the merchandise potential too. Wolf plushies, ambulance play sets, t-shirts that say, "I'm not paid enough for this," with their faces on it. The people would eat it up. This isn't just a spin-off idea. This is a cultural movement waiting to happen. The wolves may be goofy, but they actually show kids something important. Sometimes, life doesn't go to plan. You could be the villain in fairy tales and end up the sidekick in a cartoon. You could start with dreams of being a fierce predator and end up as a part-time babysitter living in a van. But hey, at least they're trying. They show up, they put in the work, they don't give up even when Masha turns their day into a disaster movie. And honestly, they're doing better than most of us on Mondays. They've got friendship, a roof over their heads, kind of, and job security, also kind of. That's more than some people can say. So let's give credit where it's due. The wolves might not be big or bad or even competent, but they're hilarious, relatable, and they definitely deserve their own spin-off. Forget Masha. Forget bear. I want 22 minutes of wolves trying to parallel park the ambulance and arguing about whose turn it is to do the grocery shopping. These are the stories we need, the everyday struggles, the relatable disasters. Because at the end of the day, we're all just wolves in an ambulance, trying to make it through another shift without everything falling apart. We've all taken jobs we weren't qualified for. We've all had a Masha in our lives who made everything 10 times harder. And we've all had that one friend who's been with us through it all, even when we probably should have quit. But what do you think? Would you watch a whole show about the wolves? Or do you think Masha would just crash it anyway? What jobs should the wolves try next? Podcast hosts? Life coaches? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe before Masha hires the wolves to babysit you. Trust me, you don't want that. They mean well, but actually, no, they don't. Just subscribe. Thanks for watching. Check out my other Masha and the Bear deep dives. And remember, if you ever feel like a failure, just remember the wolves are out there, living in an ambulance, and they're doing fine. Mostly.